Oh my goodness, everybody. Cleanse the palate, rinse your eyes out, rub your eyes, shake it off.
I feel safe.
I feel very safe right here. Broncos, not so great, but the Denver Nuggets are streaking.
Denver Nuggets.
See, the timing was off. It was.
I didn't know what to do.
Welcome to the pregame show. Let's go.
There we go.
We're presented as always by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget.
Number 1.
Segment 4, as always, we're going to make some bets thanks to this genius at the end over here. He's going to give us some winners. We're also going to talk about the Western Conference standings. Is it set? Are the 10 teams at the top the 10 teams that'll finish?
Nothing's going to change.
I think there's one change you'll agree once we get there. We're going to talk about the Nuggets being on a little winning streak here, what stands out the most, and, of course, game notes. But first, let me introduce my esteemed colleagues over here. Brendan Vogt.
Good to be back. The universe is trying to keep me out of this lounge. I just want to watch the game with my friends.
The Nuggets were great while you were gone, so...
if it goes poorly tonight, my fault.
You're out of here. Over here, we got Superstar Dev.
I'm just excited that Vogt's back. So those are my vibes today. Let's do this, baby.
Let's go.
Vibes are great. Vibes are immaculate for sure. So Nuggets are hosting the Blazers. I understand Damian Lillard not present.
Huh. Ducking. No.
What is it with him, by the way? Do we know? Is it he was an injury?
I actually am not sure what the injury is. I'm going to look that up right now.
Well, why don't you first give us the game notes from today? Like, what did Michael Malone have to say?
Well, Michael Malone spent most of the pregame lounge talking about the pregame availability, talking about Aaron Gordon, who is, among the top topics for Denver Nuggets fans right now.
I would agree with that. He's a top topic.
He's a top
topic. He's been very good.
Aaron Gordon, Malone says, played the most complete game, not only since Malone has coached, but that he's ever seen him play against the Atlanta Hawks.
Do we agree with this?
I don't know.
I know. That's like one of those things. Like, he was really good.
He was you could say that after like 5 different games he played really well, but
it wasn't so great that I could say definitively it was his best game ever, but it was a very good game.
I mean, part of it was, though, like, he showcased for a guy of his size to be able to drop down and guard small, squirrely, quick guards. Malone says this is a guy that can literally guard 1 through 5. In his opinion, one of the better defenders in the NBA. So he talked about the way that he, those rear view contests, like even when he's out of a play, because a guy is a little faster than him on that first step, Gordon finds a way to make up that ground. Strong contests at the rim.
By the way, people, I want to just interrupt here real quick. Not everybody knows this. We don't just do pregame and postgame shows. We also do a podcast on off days.
That's right.
Of course, there's a back-to-back, so there'll be a show today, a show tomorrow. But on Tuesday's show, Harris and I are going to do the list. I've already got, I think, like 8 clips from the Hawks games that'll make that. A lot of them on Denver's defense. So I'm prepared for Tuesday to talk a lot and show some film clips about Aaron Gordon's defense specifically. And a theory I have, I might bust it out before then, but a theory I have about why he's so effective guarding guys like Trae Young and this or that. After watching it, I got a couple theories.
We also got another non-update on Michael Porter Jr. Quote, "It's an ongoing thing, trying to figure out what's going on. I'd still say that Michael's out for the foreseeable future. We're trying to take it one day at a time with him and see what the best way to approach getting him back healthy is." So still no diagnosis, really. It's lower back pain. And, this is about the 3rd time that Malone has said one way or another that they're still figuring out how to treat this, whatever this is. So another non-update, and it's weird and it's concerning. I mean, you don't want to hit it like it, you don't want to say it's cause for alarm when we don't know what it is yet. We don't have any sort of timeline, but these lack of updates certainly aren't alleviating any concern.
Yeah, definitely a little weird. I know he's going to continue to get asked about this. It's one of those things that needs to continue to be asked, but hopefully I've heard mixed messages too. Like, hopefully it's a thing that this is the Nuggets are rolling right now.
Right.
If the Nuggets were on a losing streak right now, this would be like dominating the headlines.
Exactly.
Michael Porter's kind of thrown a bone here, and the Nuggets as a team thrown a bone here. And the fact that they keep winning, that it is basically a thing we asked during pregames and never else. So,
for what it's worth, friend of the show, TJ McBride, tweeted that from what he's been told, MPJ's MRI did not show anything alarming. He's still feeling some soreness. Day to day, Denver's just they're in wait-and-see mode, essentially. So we'll wait for a real update, but that's the closest thing we got for you. And that's it for Game Notes, fellas.
Michael Malone doesn't care about, it's funny because he's so media savvy, and I feel like there's more. Maybe he just shot from the hip on this one, and he's like, oh, God, I got to dial this back.
Yeah, a little bit.
The other day, he said questionable. You remember when he said, he's questionable for tomorrow? And then the team immediately released that he's out. Some weird.
He looks very uncomfortable talking about this injury. I feel comfortable saying that.
I feel very uncomfortable talking about this injury. Maybe we should all just move on.
Yeah, maybe it's because no one else is saying anything. Also, I think the positive is that he's still traveling with the team.
Right.
So like that tells you a lot. He's also had like he's been seeing at his little brother's game at DU. Like that shows that like he's not around the clock or just trying to make sure that his body is okay. So there's positives, but also we just don't know.
Yeah. I'll say another note as we kind of preview this game. I saw when I was at Ball Arena the other day. By the way, it's so great to be back, man. You guys are underselling it. I wasn't necessarily like super excited. I was excited to be back, but like I prefer being here, this or that. I had a great time there. I was like, man, I forget all these old vibes, seeing everybody chatting, like getting all the behind the scenes stuff. It was great. One thing I didn't mention was that Jamal Murray is starting to go through his workouts now more and more with like going through full workouts, cutting and doing all of this. And, he obviously looks like he's a ways away, which he is. We know he's 2 or 3 months away, but it was just good to see him starting to do more and more basketball type stuff. He still looked fluid. Footwork still looked great. So it was kind of interesting to see.
That's encouraging.
The other thing, we preview the Blazers here. So Dame's out. They are, with Dame, they are the 9th best offense in the NBA. They're a pretty terrible defense. They are the 16th best defense, but the 9th best offense. Their net rating puts them right about average. They're an average team. So I don't know. Without Dame, how do you think this affects? Do you think, look, Denver won without Jokic, Porter, and Murray the other day. Sometimes a team can be really hard to scout when they're down their best player. What do you kind of make of him not being here tonight, Dev?
I mean, they're already having issues. For them to have their top guy not there and the guy that has the ball in his hands so often, and other guys have to figure it out, just goes a long way. This Portland team doesn't have the same makeup or dynamic that the Nuggets do, where a guy goes down and there's like everyone else has to do what they do to try to get the win. I just feel like they're so dominant on Lillard that it's just going to be hard for the other guys. I will say that they do have the team for it. We just haven't seen it.
Okay.
I think all of a sudden Denver. I mean, look, this is obviously a gift for Denver. There's no two ways about it. We can talk about the sort of weird galvanizing effect it can have, but Denver matches up better now, right? I mean, you can either Aaron Gordon on either Powell or McCollum feels like a big win for Denver, and then you feel pretty good about Will Barton on the other. So they match up better. Dame has been starting to score a little bit more. I mean, the outside shot isn't really there yet, but he was starting to fill up that box score a little bit more. Derailed again, so it's a blow to Portland. It's a win for Denver.
Denver can, I mean, they're not, we talk about the standings. Portland right now is the 8th seed, and just half game, actually basically one game ahead of the 11th seed, which would put them out of the play-in. So their season is not off to a very glowing start. And Nuggets getting a win tonight just further sort of their awful start. If we segue now in, the Nuggets are on a little bit of a winning streak here, and they've looked really, really good over a 4-game winning streak. When does a winning streak begin? Because like a 1-game, 2-game, I kind of feel like 4 is a streak.
I think if you've won 3 in a row, you're streaking.
You're streaking? You think so too?
You just take your clothes off.
5 games, though, is like a healthy streak, man. 5 games, you probably only have a handful of stretches throughout the year, maybe 3 or 4 where you win 5 in a row. So Denver, an opportunity to do that tonight. I feel like it's pretty big. Dev, I'll start with you. What has stood out to you over this 4-game winning streak?
The defense. For it to still be there. Going into this season, I mean, in every season, you're going to talk about how good the defense is and what it should be. But with questions about how Denver's going to be without Jamal Murray, how Denver's looking with Michael Porter Jr. not playing to his best, and them still coming up with these type of wins, and it's being on that defensive end, like that goes a long way, because each night, I'm telling you, even if you can have a guy that's your second best guy not step up, you still have the defense to rely on. So for them to be consistent on that end of the floor and play at that type of level, who knows when the winning streak ends.
What's interesting about this winning streak, they played Houston, who's bad offense, they're bad everything. But they've also played Miami, who's the 4th best offense, the Pacers, who are the 6th best offense, and the Hawks, who are the 12th best or 15th best offense. So they played a bad offense, an average one, and 2 of the best. And yet they've climbed. Their defensive rating has gotten better. So I'm with you. And also, as I mentioned, when I do the list on Tuesday, the number one thing that stood out when I rewatched the Atlanta game, how freaking good that defense is, man.
Yeah.
We're talking 7-8 rotations on one possession, multiple guys, like all 5 guys making a certain read within it and just being lockstep on each other. Like, the defense has been legit for Denver. I don't think it's an anomaly. I don't think it's shooting. I think it's like these guys are on a string.
And what stands out for me is that the offense looks different as well. And I mean, let's not kid ourselves. We should say the offense sans MPJ and with Jeff Green. And it's not necessarily that Jeff Green is doing X, Y, and Z so well or playing out of his mind, but it allows the Nuggets to just play offense, to flow. There's not quite that elephant of the room of, do we get Porter going? Is he going to hit this shot? Is he going to make the right play? So they have looked so much more comfortable on offense, which is almost allowed. I mean, the defense, it's really hard to stay so committed on D when you're just bricking jumpers on the other end. But there has been it's like they're getting rewarded for their effort right now on the other end as well, and there's an ease with which it's coming that's notable.
I think those are the top 2. You guys hit them, defense and the offense. Even though the offensive numbers have been only slightly better than what they were, marginally, but not like on fire, I do think the process has looked a lot better.
Sure.
The passing, the team looks a lot more in rhythm. We talked about, it's funny, we did the show about playing with joy, and since that show, they've played with joy almost every single night, and that's part of it. What I would go to, just for the sake of being different from you guys, it's a different guys. So for the first part of the season, it was Jokic, it was Barton, and then a guy here or there that you would say, Aaron Gordon, great defense, but offensively, whatever.
Sure.
But think about it, we've had JaMychal Green. We've had Bones Highland step up and have Jeff Green. Bones Highland has stepped up and played some good games. Aaron Gordon in this last one was the guy on fire.
Zeke
Monte has had a couple
there.
games. Zeke Naji had a game. So to me, that's what's different. And I think that's the personality of this team at its best, is that the ball gets popping and it's just a machine. One guy scores, but really it's a team effort. And that's been true of the last 3 games especially.
Absolutely. And then also, you're getting a good game from either Monte or Barton as well these days. And, Monte, it's not like the numbers look great or anything, but I think he's cleared this certain threshold of he's over a certain hump. He looks so much comfortable with the starters, and unsurprisingly, they look so much better out there on the floor.
I think guys are just staying true to themselves. No one's stepping out of their element or what's expected of them. You have Aaron Gordon playing good defense. Jeff Green is being an athlete, and Duncan. Everything is running around Jokic. Monte Morris is taking care of the ball and getting guys what they're supposed to do, and then Bones is just bringing that energy. So guys look comfortable in their roles, and there's not guys stepping away from who they are.
Yeah, I 100% agree with all of that. The roles have become a lot more clear. You know who also looked really great as I'm watching on the TV right now, but Bones Highland on rewatch of this last game.
Oh, I mean,
I know it was live. I watched,
Sure.
He looked great live, but I go back and rewatch it, and I'm just like, man, this guy just gets it and just fits in so well. And I really wonder if he got that monkey off his back with the 3-point shooting, and he's ready to hit 3 in a row or whatever to end that game. And I'm just like, okay, is the shot here? That was the missing piece, and if it is, game on. He's gonna blow up.
We're so spoiled. We almost don't have the right perspective on how easily a rookie could look bad. Right? I mean, he could be playing poorly. Good rookies. Jamal Murray is a great example. Struggled out of the gate. And Bones just looked, it's not like, oh, luckily that shot fell. It's, oh, he sees the floor. He looks comfortable.
He
looks
saves
like he belongs.
units.
He saves units.
Minute stretches where you're like, man, we need Bones to save us here, and he does.
You talked about, I remember in Summer League and coming out of Summer League, you talked about the way Bones sort of commanded that respect on the floor. Guys were looking to him in the fourth quarter going, you make something happen. It's like that in the NBA already. And it's just really hard to keep a good perspective on how unlikely this is, how ahead of the curve he is.
He's going to get tested, but that, as this goes on, he's going to have slumps and this or that.
Yeah,
but just
course.
the way he's handled and the way he's looked like such a veteran out there is so fun. And when you go back and watch it, this is the thing I always say with Yoke. I watch him and I'm like, this guy's a genius. Then I go back and rewatch it. I'm like, wow, he's even more of a genius.
I know.
I see a little bit of that with Bones where I'm like, man, it's fun. But then you go back and watch it and you're like, oh, man, he saw that early, and that was a cool little read he saw.
Yeah, and you already talked about it. He is going to be tested. But how difficult is it going to be to test him when his confidence is just going to keep growing? He's going to still be able to read defenses and see more of it. Most guys usually have to do extra film, or they have to, dig deeper when things aren't going their way. He started out with positive. He started out, already trying to learn. And now I'm sure that he's addicted to that feeling of, okay, this is this.
He's definitely addicted to that feeling.
he is. And
I'm
and
addicted
just
to that.
everyone else just like believing in it around him just makes it so much easier for him. So once he gets tested, it's just going to be another thing that he just picks up quickly.
Are you surprised and or disappointed that Zeke Naji was not in the rotation in the last game? Because I was surprised at what a talking point that was like online.
I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's why I was surprised to see that people were surprised. I just don't think – I mean, look, Malone's he's a veteran guy. He's admitted that out loud. It took him long enough to come around on Facu when the numbers were screaming to do one thing. He's going to let JaMychal Green and also Jeff Green, who they just signed, he's going to let these guys play through these slumps before he turns to Zeke. And here's the other thing. I mean, going to Zeke may very well be the right thing to do eventually, if not right now. But what's an easier thing for a coach to manage? Zeke Naji, your time hasn't come yet? Or, hey, Jeff and JaMychal, I'm benching you for the kid. I'm not surprised at all that he's hesitant.
I mean, tomorrow's a great opportunity. We don't have to talk about it for too long, but there's a back-to-back. Like, maybe that's a night where you rest a Jeff Green or a JaMychal Green and try somebody else out. That's my thing is opportunities are going to come for Zeke. It hasn't been like with Bones where in the preseason, Bones looked like the second best player almost every single game, and it's like, hey man, like Zeke Naji had a really nice game, and I think I'm back to buying, like I'm buying some more Zeke coin at the moment, but it hasn't been so overwhelming where I'm like, if he plays tonight, he's going to beat Dominator, this or that. So
Win taking a well-deserved shot at us. Surprised it was a talking point online.
You guys knew here. Well, you're right. You're right.
Nothing should surprise me. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the West standings. The West standings. This is what's interesting. This happens. I remember this happening last year, 10 games in, where the 10 teams that were in there. Do you have? Do you want to pull them up there? The 10 teams that were in the playoffs, like 10 games in, were the 10 teams that finished in the playoffs.
Yep.
It's weird how it actually separates earlier sometimes than you think. And if we pull these up, all right. Well, I'm gonna have to pull them up. That's like way too teeny. Golden State #1. Phoenix, Denver, Dallas, Clippers, Jazz, basically all right there. The Lakers, Blazers, actually Lakers then on their own. And then you get a big gap where teams go to a losing record, which includes Portland, Memphis, and then, drum roll please, Oklahoma City somehow in there at 5 and 6.
That's not what they had in mind.
Sacramento, San Antonio, the Timberwolves, the teams that are right there. Then the Pelicans and Rockets basically eliminated from playoff contention. They are 1-11 and 2-12 respectively. They're pretty much done. Like it's send them home. I'll start with you, Dev. Which team, when you look at the West standings, is furthest right now from where they will finish the season when it's all said and done?
Maybe Memphis.
Man, I was ready to anoint them when they beat Denver and looked awesome. I was like, hey, they're ready. And then they've lost every game since.
Yeah, I just don't see that like continuing. Especially with that unit, like the way that they play against Denver, like if you don't watch much of them, you're like, what went wrong? Because Ja Morant's still playing exceptionally well. But then again, you look at it and you're like, okay, who else is it that's going to step up? I see that Dylan Brooks is back and trying to get back into that rotation, but they just need someone else to step up before like they go on these type of losing streaks. And I don't think that the losing is going to continue at this same rate. So I do think that they're going to rise.
So they're 9. Where do they rise to?
6, 7.
Okay, so they're off by 2 or 3 spots. Yeah, all right.
I think it's Utah. I mean, Utah's so low, but they're so low by such a thin margin. And to be honest, I do think they're just going to continue to rack up regular season wins going forward, especially because there's at least one team, really 2 teams in front of them in Dallas and LA that I just do not think will sustain having a better record.
They've lost 4 of 5.
They have.
They've lost 4 of 5. Their one win came against Atlanta. They lost to Miami. That's a good team. They actually lost to Miami twice. They lost to Orlando, which is a terrible team, and they lost to the Pacers. They lost to the damn Pacers in a game that I watched that one, and I watched that game, and I go, man, this team, like something looks a little off. I wonder with them twofold. One, are things just a little bit off there? Like they look like the Nuggets did 5 games ago, where it was like they're just not having fun. It seems mechanical, this or that. But one other little thing, and I haven't watched them enough to really know this. Teams are starting to switch on. The Pacers switched 1 through 5 on them, even with 2 centers. They play Sabonis and Turner, and it flusters them. They are a team that loves the pick and roll, loves to exploit it, and teams like the Clippers that did this. And I wonder if it's an example of a team that got beat in a playoff series, and it's like, oh, scouting report's out. You don't even have to be good at this. You just have to switch against them. They don't know what to do.
Right. And then the other one, fellas, is
I didn't convince you at all that maybe the Jazz aren't as good. Because I'm with you. I thought they were going to be the 1 seed, and I'm like, maybe they're actually just a 3 or 4 seed this year.
Yeah, maybe, but I still think. I mean, look, that's actually also still a big jump, right? It's just such a thin margin, and they're gonna take care of a lot of those games, right? Where those games that sometimes the Nuggets lose and everyone gets frustrated. Utah will win those games more often than not across 82.
Fair.
And then the other one is OKC, who very well could slide much further because that's their plan.
They were my cop-out answer because they're the 10 seed. I think they're going to finish below Sacramento, Minnesota, and San Antonio. So they'll be at bottom. I don't know if they're going to be as bad as Houston or New Orleans, guys.
They can't.
That's
really their plan. No, that's their plan.
Who? The Pelicans' plan is to be good.
There's no way their plan is to be good. They're going to sit down their star for the entire year.
I was going to say, well, they're not sitting him down. They're not sitting him down. They have a general manager who desperately wants to keep his job by winning, and Zion seems to not want to keep his general manager's job by not playing. It is a storyline when I look at Minnesota, who I predicted would be good this year, like a dumbass. I was like, this is the year Karl Anthony Towns turns it around, and the worst organization in all of the NBA gets it together. No, they're the same clown show. And honestly, they're a fountain of sadness, guys.
I know.
They're a fountain of sadness, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I feel bad picking on them. That's how sad that they are. The Pelicans, as we just mentioned, the Kings, another team that keeps wanting to throw their hat in the ring. I look at those teams and I go, De'Aaron Fox, Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Brandon Ingram. There's some talent on those teams, and they might be teams that are about to pivot hard. If I'm not right now, but 20 more games into the season, if they are don't have it, those are teams that you might see the trade deadline, big names get moved that you didn't expect, and maybe big enough names that tilt the balance of power out west.
Hey, but I know people didn't really know what to do with the Lakers before the season. Now here they are. They sit set at 7th, 8-6. Do you feel like you know anything? Are they any closer to an 8 or a 1 seed in your mind than before the season started?
I think that they're closer to a 1 seed before the season. Have they had a healthy game at all yet? I just haven't seen.
But wasn't that part of why you would be skeptical about them?
Reared its head real early.
You would have to assume that guys are going to start playing soon. I mean, I'm not sure what the health things are around there, but you would assume that, because I don't even feel like I've seen LeBron James highlights or anything in a long time.
Well, he hasn't played,
and that's their guy, and they're still 7C, which shocks me. And they're pretty much with everyone else as far as wins, loss. They have 8 wins along with everyone else. They do have a few more losses, but that means that they've played more games. So maybe that means more rest sometime soon. But I just feel like at some point they're going to start playing.
Here's the thing about the Lakers. They're doing the same thing that the Nuggets did last year. They got in an early hole. It wasn't even a big hole. Same thing with the Lakers. They're 8-6. It's not that bad. They're only 2 losses, behind Denver at the moment. But they're right on the edge to where if you get behind just a little bit, guess who has to play more games than he wants?
Right.
LeBron and Anthony Davis. And that's where I'm at. I don't think the Lakers look at this and go, we can be a 5 or 6 seed and it's fine. I think they want at least 1 round of home court advantage going into the playoffs. So you start to fall too far behind. You got to win 18 of 20 at some point just to gain the standing. So I look at that and I go, they're not quite there yet, but they're teetering on the edge of a team that could fall so far behind. And by the way, they've had a soft schedule.
And they're 3-0 in overtime, right? So those are 3 wins that are real close to, I don't know. They've just had to work so much harder than they would have liked to already is probably how I would feel.
I'm buying the Lakers as a peak team can be very good. Not dominant, but they can be very good. But I'm selling the fact that they can coast to getting to that point.
Yeah.
I think they might have to sprint the rest of the way of the season, and that's going to
not
hurt
what they
them.
wanted. Yeah.
All right. Let's make some money. Back to Nuggets
on,
Blazers.
Dev.
Let's open up
I've had a
DraftKings
tough week,
Sportsbook,
Dev. Get me some
America's
money here.
top-rated sportsbook app. And let's log in here. So I missed my Denver parlay. Like an idiot, I completely bought into Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos this week. I said, hey, man, they're over the hump. So I'm already out my parlay.
Yeah, so just looking at it, it's Nuggets are 5.5-point favorites.
Okay.
Which this line has bounced around today. It started at 5, it went up to 6, and now it's at 5.5. So maybe late money coming in on Portland. Which who would do that? I mean, whatever.
I don't know.
This is a lower scoring game, so they do think that defense is going to be played, or just Portland maybe doesn't have the offensive firepower with their best guy out. Over under is at 208. 208. That's wild. I don't mess with those lines. Are you guys push any way on that?
I know. I was going to say I love the Nuggets tonight, but every time I say that out loud when another team is down a star, they lose. So I'll keep that to myself.
I would say the over I kind of like a little bit more. Two things are possible tonight. Whenever another team was without their other best player, teams just play worse. Like, it just happens every time. They take their foot off the gas pedal or whatever. Yep. So I could see Denver getting scored on more than typical. And then second, Michael Malone's a great scouting report coach. But when the team loses Damian Lillard, the scouting report, who knows what it is.
Sure.
So
that's a good point.
I could see this being a slight over.
Okay. So we go over to the points.
Okay.
Some things that stand out. So right now, as expected, CJ McCollum is their high-scoring guy for Portland today. They have him at 23.5. The idea is going to be that you either have Aaron Gordon on him or Will Barton on him with help side defense the entire time.
Yeah.
I do like CJ McCollum as like a cone drill type of scorer, but I just don't see that happening against Aaron Gordon, like putting him on him.
That's like the worst insult. That's like a compliment. That's actually not a backhanded compliment. Totally.
Yeah, but I mean, really, you have Aaron Gordon on him, and you know that Denver is actually serious about their defense this year, and they're taking like into account that they want to be a top defense. They let Aaron Gordon guard Trae Young from the opening tip-off last game.
Yeah.
They care about that end. So 23.5 is just too high for me. I don't see a world and they're going to have CJ McCollum just go nuclear. So I like the under in that.
Okay.
To start out.
What about Normal Powell? Do you think he's going to go off?
Normal Powell, I do think he's going to go off. I think that they have his line pretty high. It's at 18.5. That's where it becomes difficult because I do think he's going to score a ton, but I don't think it'll be 20, 19 like they have it.
I can't tell you how furious I am that there's no Bones lines. It actually really makes me mad.
Yeah, and they had it last time too.
That Nurkic line, Dev, 11, is it 12.5?
12.5 points.
Look, he liked to tweet recently, looked a little disgruntled about his role.
You think we get pouty Nurk?
No, well, but there's no Dame tonight. No, I think Nurk says, F the game plan tonight. I'm trying to score.
All right.
This is a Nurk. Nurk calls his own number tonight is what I think.
Yep, I do like that as well just because of...
I'm not rooting for it, though.
I don't either. But
that's good for Denver.
Yeah, the thing is...
That's good news for Denver.
And this is a question that I asked you guys before the game or before the show. Does Jokic care about going against Nurkic anymore? Because he used to. I really feel like this was something that he circled before every time they played each other. Do you guys think he cares anymore?
I don't.
I don't think he sees Nurkic anymore.
Exactly. He doesn't see him.
Right past
but guess
him,
what? Nurkic does see Jokic. He does care. I think he's going to go all out in this type of game. They have his rebounds at 9.5. We know he's very well capable of having like a 16, 17 rebound type of game. Man, I'm going to put it together and put Nurkic points, rebounds, and assists together. I think it's only I'll pull it up. It's at 25.5.
That's dirty money, man. That's dirty money.
It is, but I mean, it was already brought up, so that's that.
The one nice thing is, it does feel like if Nurk goes off, it doesn't necessarily mean like the Blazers.
Yeah, it doesn't care. It doesn't matter at all. Like they have to score somewhere. They have to try to go after something. We also know that Jokic could just make them go into foul trouble the entire time. Like that's just something that it can do. I mean, I'm just going to just ride the whale for my lock.
Okay.
Which has been hitting. They're smart about it. They put it up a little bit, but just not enough. Jokic, points, rebounds, and assists. It's at 45.5.
That's pretty high, man.
It is pretty high. Who else are they going to go through? Who's Denver going to go through?
Also, that's your lock. I'm buying. I'm not necessarily convinced this should be the lock, but I'm going anyway just for you, Dev.
By the way, there's some player specials as well. I think Jokic 35+ points, 14+ rebounds. You can get plus 1,000 on that. Super unlikely, except for the fact that Jokic averages 14 rebounds a game. So maybe not that unlikely.
Do you guys think that Denver Munders today?
Yes,
I do. I said no. I'm saying no.
Yes. I'm saying yes.
Last question before we get out of here is Will Barton. Is this a bounce back game or no?
Bounce back, but not Indiana.
I think it's a regular game for him.
15-6-6.
Can I tell you my lock tonight?
5-6-4.
I have a lock tonight, and it's not that great of a lock. Jokic threes, 1.5. He was so off last game. He does shoot threes against Nurk because he draws them out or whatever. I think tonight he's locked in. Never off like that. Come on, I think he's locked in.
Great super
Biggest standout for me is the turnover issue has been corrected from the early games.
I agree.
This is a great point. You guys know me. I'm big on the turnovers thing. I say that it's a symptom. More often than not, a symptom, not the root.
Right.
And I think that this team is playing more connected for sure. We don't have any other ones I feel like I need an Eric Lock or something.
Text him. He's probably drunk and sad.
He probably is drunk and sad. I'll tell you what. Yeah, he was at the game tonight. He's probably not feeling too great. Double tonight. We get a double. Jokic double minus 700. Wow, that's triple double. Doesn't he have a couple triple doubles? He's kind of.
He has been getting it going lately.
Plus 300.
Let's lock it in.
Let's lock it in.
I love it.
Double.
Let's go.
Let's just put a little bet on it. Why not? It's a little bit of fun.
Let me get in on this Vibes Fest. Come on.
Get in on
Winners
the
Lounge.
vibes. Yeah, you want to
Come
go
on
to the Vibes Fest. All right, we're going to bring it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hit the like button on the way out. You guys know us. We're going to be right back here right after the game. Maybe a 5-game winning streak. We'll find out. We'll see you guys then.
Going streaking.